Hi, I'm Dana and welcome back to another episode of Learning to be Autistic. If you want to check out other episodes and see what this is all about, I'll link the first episode here. But the basic rundown is that I was diagnosed autistic at about 21, realised that I have to completely learn who I am, not only as a person as you do when you're in your 20s, but also as an autistic person, and figure out what being autistic means for me, and thus this series was born. I made a video quite a while ago, also a part of this series, about making friends, because it's something that I really struggle with. It's one of those things that I find very, very difficult. And I mean, it's something that changes throughout your life, and I think it was probably somewhere around a year ago that I made that video. And things are a little bit different now. Not that different. I'm not a social butterfly. I don't have like incredible friend group or anything. But I've been working on trying to make more friends, and shockingly enough, I'm somewhat managing it. I'm coming at you today on a day when I actually feel really good, because I'm filming this on a Friday, and I've had, for me, a very, very social week. On Monday, I met up with a friend in town and did some shopping. I had a good little time there. It was really nice. Like, we got some coffee. I actually bought some clothes and tried some stuff on, and you know, I'm gonna get to like the types of people in a bit, but it was just a really nice experience to go out and do a girly day and look at makeup and do the things that I'd normally do alone, because I feel very awkward doing it with people, and that's if I bother doing it at all. And just doing it in a way that felt really comfortable, and having someone there with me that was doing the same things and, you know, as far as I could tell, also enjoying it. And then yesterday on Thursday, I went to this really weird, like, optical illusion immersive experience place. I'm terrible at describing things, but I went there with my girlfriend and her best friend and their partner, and it was a really good time. I think it's because it was less social, to be honest. I, luckily enough, do really like my girlfriend's friends. Like, the majority of them are amazing, and, you know, I get on well enough with all of them, so it's not too bad. And that's basically me admitting that I hated most of my ex's friends. That was not fun. Whereas now I can actually go out with my girlfriend and her friends and be like, yeah, that was a nice time. But because of the type of, like, event that it's not an event, but, you know, the type of situation that it was, it's like, yeah, we're talking and we're, like, having conversation and, you know, socialising, but we've got these like centerpieces to focus on, so I'm not having to be like, oh god, I need a conversation starter, what can we talk about, I need to, like, this is so awkward, you know, there's none of that, because we're doing this thing and this is what we talk about, and that makes it so much easier for me. And that's when it feels like socialising can be like really recharging, and I actually really like it, and I don't feel completely exhausted afterwards. And then we got some food and split off, and I had a little bit of like nice cuddle time with my girlfriend, because I'm an absolute baby and I'm like, I need cuddle time. And then I went home and got ready and went to another social event. 2 in one day, the double whammy. I've never done that before because I thought it'd kill me, frankly. However, I've been to 2 parties this year. Wait, were they both this year? I'm pretty sure I've been to 2 parties this year. Also, I think the most parties I've ever been to in a year. But they're also the first 2 parties in my life that I really enjoyed. I actually had a good time. I went around and spoke to different people and like experienced a party, and I liked it. I really enjoyed it. I had a good time. So when the person who's hosted these other 2 parties was like, I'm having a little gathering if you want to come, I was like, yes, I'm going to be there. And then this came up and I was like, well, I want to do that too. And then I was like, I guess I'll try and do both. And it was kind of a lot, I won't lie. I was very, very anxious on my way there, because I've always gone with my girlfriend because they're her fucking friends, and this time I was just showing up on my own, and I had a bit of a nightmare with Uber, but I got there and I was terrified. I felt sick. I was not having a good time just straight off the bat the moment I walked up to the front door. And then I knocked and they were like, oh, it's open. And I went in and I got introduced to everyone. And it was immediately like a very like comfortable and welcoming environment. I don't feel like I've had that many welcoming environments in my life, to be fair. But this one just like, everyone immediately just felt like a friend, you know? Like, everyone's just really nice. And it's one of those things that makes me question if a lot of things in my past with like other friendships and other social events, like, was it my fault as an autistic person? Did I fuck up? Did I not know like the social etiquette and you know, was it my fault? Or were they just kind of assholes? like, I'll give that I've grown up and I've changed and gotten better at things over the years since the, like, last set of parties that I attended in my, like, very early 20s. I have, like, improved as a person. But I also, like, there were so many times at other parties that I'd go up to someone and try and, like, ask an introductory kind of, like, icebreaker question that they'd literally laugh at or just be like, what does that mean? What do you want to know? And other, like, slightly rude answers. And at these parties and this gathering, I don't know what to call them. That's where, like, my true autism lies. I don't know what to call these hangouts. I don't know. It's just a few people in a house having a nice time together, okay? But it's so dependent on the people at things like this, because this time when I asked people my little introductory icebreaker questions, they had interesting replies. It created a conversation. I at one point, someone else I like at the party was even like, oh, that's a good question. And I was like, oh my God, a compliment on my social skills. But yeah, and it's, you know, like, I haven't changed that much. I still have the same script. These are the same questions I was asking people a few years ago when I was getting laughed at and, like, people were being really rude. And that's not happening. And I don't think it's, you know, I know for sure it's not that the questions changed, because it's the same fucking scripted question I asked last time. I know that I have changed a little bit because I've grown up, but I'm not a different fucking person, you know? I am more or less still the same. The only difference is the people I'm around. You know, and like I say, this was like a smaller gathering that I attended. So, like, at parties, there's lots of conversations happening, lots of different things happening. And the last 2 times I've attended, I've been able to, like, float around and actually, like, interact with different people and talk to different people, and it's been a really nice time. And this time it was more of, like, a single thing going on, which meant that there were times that I spoke to a group of people. Like, there weren't loads of us. There were, like maybe 6 people, 7 people, and they're all people. I think they were all people that I've met at the other parties. There might have been 1 or 2 that I hadn't met, but for the most part, they're people that I'm aware of and know are nice people, you know. And I had conversation in front of this group. Hi, Ringo. And I definitely spoke a bit fast. It definitely made me a little bit a twinge of anxiety because there's lots of people looking at me, or at least lots of people for me, you know. But I didn't feel rushed. I felt listened to. I felt heard. I felt like a part of the conversation. Yeah, it didn't feel like I was, like, addressing a room. It felt like I was involved in the conversation, and, like, other people had things to say based off of what I said, and it was really nice. You know, and at least some of the people there, like, some of them I really haven't spoken to very much or don't know very well, but there's definitely a few people there that I would consider on, like, the shallow levels of a friend now. They're definitely a little bit more than an acquaintance, you know? And like I say, like, oh, I didn't mention, but my friend that I met up with on Monday, I also met at the last party, so it's very much this one person's house parties have created me a social life. But for me, the thing that's made me really notice is that you sort of, like, you have to have a friend to make more friends, in my experience. You know, I had to find my girlfriend on Tinder and create a whole ass relationship to meet other people, to be able to meet people that are the types of people I connect with and want to be friends with and who want to be friends with me. And that's where it's, like, taken me, you know, what, like 6 years since my last friendship group. And even then, I only managed to make friends with them because I contacted one of them because I knew her through my blog, and then they just already had a group of friends I could join, you know? I still, like I say, haven't created, like, a group of friends because I didn't know these people, because I didn't know some of the people last night very well. But, you know, it was still a group of people, like, I felt like I, to some degree, belonged with and definitely had a nice time with. And it was something I'd really like to do again. It was a really nice time. I enjoyed it a lot. And, like, the suggestions for things they wanted to do in the future sounded like things I would like to do. And, you know, it might be obvious to other people, but any sort of, like, social event, and especially ones you want to make friends with, do so much depend on the people. And I think it really only takes, you know, a couple of really good people to make it a really great environment and a great occasion to be able to make friends. But I think, again, that it is very important to acknowledge that you sort of, like, have to know somebody to get to know other people. And being autistic or being anxious, that's very hard. I didn't really know anyone. I literally had to meet my girlfriend on Tinder in order to, like, make friends and find people, you know? It's really fucking tough. And the other side of that is that, like I say like, oh yeah, I think some of them on like the shallow side of being friends. And I've just realised that the word shallow has like negative connotations. I'm not saying they are shallow. I'm saying like, if this is the depth of waters for a friendship, it's like in the shallow end where it's not very deep, you know, because I don't know them very well. It's not meant to be rude. But I really struggle with putting definitions on like, when is someone my friend, you know? Like, I almost prefer like the dating experience, because it's like, I'm either gonna stop going on dates with you because I don't like you, or at some point I'm gonna ask if you want to be my girlfriend, and then we've got like the definitive, like, I know what's going on. Whereas you can't ask someone like, so are we friends now, you know? And I kind of wish we could. I used to do that all the time in primary school. Like, I'd be chatting to someone for a while or play a game and they'd be like, so are we friends now? And sometimes they said yes and sometimes they said no, and I liked knowing, you know? Because like, there's people I've spoken to that I'm like, I definitely want to be their friend. I'd like to start like messaging them and having conversations, but I don't know if we're actually friends enough that I can actually just message them. And it's all weird little social boundaries that I just don't really quite understand. I don't know how to shift people from like acquaintance into friend. You know, it's tricky and it's difficult. You know, I kind of thought that the struggle would be finding people that I want to be friends with and who want to in turn be friends with me. And that's been enough of a struggle. But knowing when you're actually friends with them or not, it's impossible. It's so hard. And I also worry greatly that people are just being polite. You know? Like, it's not constantly, it's not like my number one concern. I think I can tell when people are being like genuine, you know, for the most part. But there's certain types of people, I think a lot of it's me. I think like a lot of like my issues with friendships are projection, honestly. I don't think it's the other people a lot of the time. Although it is a lot easier when they're actually people that you want to be friends with, I will say. But I think that I sort of have this thing where if I perceive someone as being like a lot cooler than me, I automatically assume they won't want to spend time around me or be my friend. So when I ask them if they want to like, hey, do you want to do this thing, or do you want to go here, or do you want to like hang out, and they say yes, I assume that it's purely out of politeness, and thus I will cut it as short as possible to not impose on them. When in reality, they've probably said yes because they do actually want to, and otherwise they would have made up some sort of excuse. And I've now just cut a hangout short, and they're probably wondering why. When I'm going home and being like, oh my God, they hated me. When none of that's true. I'm just like projecting and being weird. So that's fun. I love that. You know, and that's not to say that I think any of my friends or other people that I'm trying to be friends with are less cool than me either. I think that the majority of us are on a similar level of coolness, and that's why I'd really quite like to be friends with them. Although I do also vaguely assume that everyone is a little bit cooler than me, because I don't exactly love myself, you feel? But we're working on it. We're trying to have confidence over here. And as always, at the end here, I do want to like put the little depressing downside of I'm super tired today. I wouldn't say I'm exactly burnt out, because I really enjoyed all of the socialisation that I've had this week. I have also seen my girlfriend in between, but I don't really count my girlfriend as like socialisation, because I'm relaxed and being myself and it's not scary anymore, you know, she's my girlfriend. Just a little bit battery empty, really. You know, I'm not burnt out, because it's like a good, just like tiredness and general, I wouldn't even say necessarily low energy, just a little bit slow, just a little bit relaxed, just a little bit, nah, it's alright, I'm low energy and in a good mood, so things can go slowly and it's alright. I don't feel like this very often. I don't often have like those socialisations that are this good. I don't ever have this many social events in a week. 3 in 1 week, guys. Who am I? But yeah, that's all I've got to say currently. This one was kind of just talking about all my videos just me talking about myself. I mean, they basically are, because I can really only go by my experience, I'm afraid. But I think this one really was just me like unloading about recent events and being kind of proud of myself for socialising. So sorry if this was completely useless and just an update on my social life. I'm gonna go now, so it's not just a fucking 25-minute video of me explaining my social life, apparently. God, I hope I don't hate this when I edit it. But whoever you are and wherever you are, I hope you're having a lovely morning, day, evening, afternoon, week, month, year. And I'll see you again in a few days.